Hi, everybody. Welcome to 20somethings TV. I'm Anthony Corticelli. I'm your host for the evening, and I'm joined with Ellie, Jamian, Stevie, and Matt. We have some interesting topics tonight, some controversial ones. Let's just go into them. The first one is the cancellation of Dave Chappelle. Uh, Dave Chappelle is a comedian. He just came out with a new special on Netflix called The Closer, and he had some very controversial remarks about transgender people, going to say that he believes that people are the sex that they're born. You guys have any thoughts on that?
Dave Chappelle is one of the most probably well-known comedians of all time, if not number one. And as long as his career's been going for, he's always been getting in trouble for saying controversial stuff about race, sexual, everything, homophobic, and just adding on just with the transgender comments. I just if people are going to see Dave Chappelle, I feel like they have to expect that they're going to get upset at something that he's going to say. He does it in every single show. I don't know what you guys think about it, but that's just one of the things I thought of.
I haven't seen the show. I actually haven't seen anything that he's done, but I just feel like if you're okay with saying this stuff, you should also be okay with getting backlash and criticism from it, especially if you have a platform that you're on Netflix. If you're on Netflix, you should pretty much be expecting to have some sort of criticism, especially when you're making these kinds of remarks.
He seems to actually like the criticism, and him and Netflix have been basically boasting about it, saying that he's uncancelable. But they've basically been using it as a selling point to watch the special and using it as publicity. So that's a whole other controversy by itself, essentially.
One thing I don't know if you guys actually ended up watching the special or anything, but during one of the segments, it might have even been the opening segment, I don't remember clearly, but it kept panning to him speaking about transgender people, and it was him speaking, and then there was these two women that were in the middle seats just booing him, yelling at him, and I don't agree with what those women were doing, because if you want to disencourage him, why buy tickets to a show where he's making money from you just going there and booing him? I just don't see the point in doing that. There's no harm to him.
Well, heckling's always going to be a part of comedy, and I think Dave Chappelle expects that same way he expects the heat that he's going to get from half the things he says, or if not all of them. He knows going up there that people are going to be upset with what he says, but I think he also knows that he is kind of untouchable. He's been around for so long. We know who he is. We know his comedy, and he's not going to stray away from that just to save somebody's comfort. And I think it's also important to be said that one of his closest friends who passed away was transgender, and her family has come out and said that was really just Dave's way of coping with her passing and coming to terms with the transgender experience.
People are just also trying to make it seem that Dave Chappelle is homophobic and he doesn't like people who are transgender. That's just not the case at all. That's just his comedy in a way. Doesn't make it right, but it's just the way he does, and he's made millions of dollars doing it. He's been doing it for 20-something years now, and it's coming out now. Just let him go. Let him rock.
I think another thing that they might be upset with is not only his comments, but his response to the criticism of his comments. What do you guys think about that? Him not really taking it seriously and being oh, this is just my way to cope, and not really understanding that there are people who are affected by his comments and might have felt, upset about it. Actual people of the trans community.
I agree. I think people are also really upset at Netflix's response because they actually fired a transgender employee of theirs who spoke out against this. And apparently there's more to this story after I researched it. Apparently, they also had disrupted a room, like a meeting of some kind. So that's more of a case to fire them. But still, what do you guys think about that?
I mean, it still goes back to like that he's been doing this type of comedy for years. I don't understand. Like he's used the word gay in multiple shows that he's done, and I just don't understand that why right now all of a sudden it's just a huge problem where people are coming in, disrupting meetings, breaking things, and making a whole big scene of it. I don't agree with that whatsoever. If you had a problem with it in the beginning, make a problem with it in the beginning. Don't wait till it's his last show, pretty much ever. I don't know about you guys.
I think he also had some backlash for comments that he made, like either in the 90s and even 2016. So, like you said, it's been happening. He's repeatedly done these things over and over, and he's repeatedly going to get backlash and just still do shows where he says these jokes because he clearly, Dave Chappelle does not care, like at all. Like he doesn't really take criticism seriously.
Yeah, I watched a lot of Joe Rogan podcasts, and it wasn't on his podcast, but there was a video of them talking to each other, and he in the conversation he said, "I'm the king of controversy." So it just shows that like nothing really bothers him. Like he doesn't like when he said it, he was clearly joking, and like he doesn't mean any of the things he says, but like they're his jokes, and like that's how he's funny. So
Speaking of cancellations, our next topic is going to be about John Gruden, who was an NFL coach of the LA Raiders, who recently resigned over comments that have resurfaced of old emails, basically saying homophobic remarks and other misogynistic things. What do you guys think about that story?
again, this is one of a big thing like to me because I've been watching John Gruden as a coach before he was on the Raiders, when he was on the now Washington football team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But these email lists came out or was done when he wasn't even a coach. This was 10 years ago when he was an ESPN analyst, and in one of his emails he said like used a homophobic slur describing a player and a manager, and they didn't keep it secret nonetheless for 10 years, but they didn't bring it out until now, which I don't understand why, but I don't know what you guys think, but I think
they brought it up now because there's an investigation in the Washington football team. So these weren't the only emails that they looked at. They looked at, I think, over like 600,000 emails is what I saw. But these ones were like some of the more like controversial ones that were brought to the public.
Yeah, I was reading an article, kind of contradicting myself here what I'm saying, but supposedly the NFL investigators came out to Gruden and were like, if you don't resign now, we're going to leak all the emails and basically destroy you and make everyone hate you for the rest of your life. So we might as well just get it over with as quickly as possible.
Amelia just commented just a question. If people always speak in bad taste, should they always be excused? Which goes back to our Dave Chappelle discussion, which I guess can also be applied to John Gruden. What do you guys think about that question?
I don't know. He definitely shouldn't have said what he said. Don't get me wrong. But if you're saying it to a person and like nobody else and wasn't like necessarily making it like mean, I mean, he said the wrong words. He probably could have used different words. I don't think he should have got like, I don't know what the other emails say, but for the two emails that I saw that were leaked, like, I understand you should not have used that language, but like all NFL coaches and all coaches use poor language all the time. And all of Gruden supporters, past players, past assistant coaches say like they can't believe it because they don't see it in him that he would do something like that.
I don't know. I don't think it should be excused, and I also think like if stuff like this surfaces about, like, I know one of them, he was like saying terrible things about a player. Like, I don't know who would want to play for him or work with him if they know that he's just like making fun of them behind closed doors.
It's also dangerous if he's in a position of power and it's like this is how you feel about your teammates who are not heterosexual, then how good of a coach could you equally be to everybody if you feel this way?
I think there's just an overall problem about people who get into these positions of power and they have this ideology. I mean, if you have this ideology in general, even if you're not in a position like that, it's dangerous. But like even more if it's amplified and given a space like that.
Amelia commented, I would like to know why you're excusing these men just because they're coaches or comedians. I don't think I'm like making myself very clear. I'm not trying to excuse him for what he said. I said I agree. I think it's awful, but I don't understand why it's coming out now and they didn't do something in the past. Just to make myself clear.
I don't understand that either, but I don't think that matters. I mean, at all. It doesn't matter when you said it. You got to own up to your mistakes, and if that means losing your job because of it, then so be it. As for Dave Chappelle, it's not my place to get offended. I'm not transgender. I can't understand how that may. I can see how it may affect them, but if the family of a transgender person can look at it and forgive him, then who am I to say anything different? You know. I mean, they called him an LGBTQ ally. Let me read their full quote. His entire set was begging to end this very situation about his friend killing herself. What he's saying to the LGBTQ family is, I see you, do you see me? I'm mourning my friend in the best way I know how. Can you see me? Can you allow that? If they can see that, then I can't hold it against them.
I think that's all. It's also tough just because that's one family speaking for an entire group of people. So again, we don't, at least I don't know, I don't have the same experiences. So I don't know. It's difficult to just go off of what one person says speaking for an entire group of people when I don't know those experiences personally.
I was gonna agree. I was gonna say that even if the specific family was offended, his comments weren't necessarily aimed towards his friend who they're the family members of her who committed suicide. But Kat Black is a YouTuber who is a trans woman, and she recently tweeted how like those comments were very offensive to her and other trans women. So what do you guys, I mean, not to go back on that topic if you guys would like to talk about it.
Yeah, I don't want to speak on it too much more just because I haven't seen the special, so I don't really know what he said. I'm just going off of people's responses to it. But yeah, I'll have to watch it because maybe he did cross a line. Maybe he went too far. It's possible.
Going to our last topic about another controversial thing that happened was the renaming of Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. So Joe Biden went public and basically confirmed that's the new name for the day that used to be Columbus Day. What do you guys think about that?
I completely agree with it. I don't think it should be called Columbus Day anymore, just because like people don't understand like what actually happened on that day, and people just think it was like a happy day and not about killing indigenous people or like, sorry to make it graphic, but raping them as well. Like, I think it's good to give call it Indigenous Day to like try to like, you can't really change the past, but like make it seem less bad, so to say.
Yeah, I don't think they're trying to change the past, but we can like choose what we celebrate now instead of like just celebrating Columbus, we can kind of turn to this new topic.
I know people too, like especially Italian people, really view Columbus Day as like a real like big holiday for them. And I know some Italian people are extremely outraged by like trying to take away from Columbus Day. What do you guys think about that?
It's actually pretty interesting you brought that up because I recently read that Columbus Day was originally started back in the 30s as a way to fight anti-Italian hate speech that was going on at the time. And Columbus was really the only prominent Italian figure that they could find to really celebrate Italians and not in a way that could basically stop the hate speech in some odd way. And again, times have changed, and it kind of shows all the bad light that what Columbus actually did. So I think it is time to really change that.
I mean, as the comment that just came up said that it's not really getting rid of Columbus Day, it's just recognizing Indigenous Peoples Day as a holiday as well, which I feel like should have been done a long time ago.
There's still places that are celebrating both, like Jamie just said, but a lot of places are kind of making Indigenous Peoples Day the norm instead of Columbus Day.
Some people are getting like really outraged by this because in Connecticut, actually, they tried to take down the Columbus statue, or I think they did take the Columbus statue down. And then, but before they took it down, actually, a bunch of like the Italian population in Connecticut stood in front of the statue to like prevent it. And it almost sparked like a battle, honestly, right in front of the statue. And so some people are really upset about this situation of trying to like take away the name, which like in their eyes, I understand why they could be upset, but at the same time, like, I think it's good to like change it and give it a second meaning so everyone can be happy instead of just one group happy and one group not happy.
Mm-hmm. I know some places are making Columbus Day also Italian Heritage Day instead of Columbus Day, but also incorporating Indigenous Peoples Day. I think the best option would probably be to give those two separate days, so that you can have an Italian Heritage Day without honoring someone like Columbus who did some horrible things, and you can still honor the heritage of both people.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, celebrating Columbus Day is just it's outdated at this point. We know what he did. We have to hold him accountable, and we need to celebrate the people that he came in and ruined their lives. And I think it's a step in the right direction to recognize them and put him aside because he's not all that special.
Literally, I've never heard of anybody celebrating Columbus Day. Like, whoa, it's Columbus Day. Like, I've never seen anybody be excited for today or yesterday.
I think we celebrate Columbus Day by sleeping in and doing whatever I want during the day and not doing actually a single thing. My day.
I feel the same way. Sorry.
Go ahead.
It's kind of going to change the subject, but I feel the same way over Victory over Japan Day. Like, why does Rhode Island still celebrate
We're
that?
the only one who celebrate that.
Yeah, why?
I mean, that makes even more sense to celebrate than Columbus Day anyway.
Yeah, at least to some degree. I mean, I remember even as a kid, Columbus Day was just a day off of school. You know, I didn't really care. It was just a day off. But it's another topic.
I am sure that some people actually like do something for Columbus Day. I'm not really sure what that is, but I can see why people who are getting upset about this and do something on Columbus Day want to continue doing it.
Again, I think people just use it as a token day for, at least some people, some communities use it as a token day for Italians. But like I said, there are other ways you can honor that heritage and also honor the heritage of the Native Americans. Anyway, so that's been 20somethings TV. I hope you enjoyed watching. We'll see you next week.